the Andy Griffith Show, Facts and Trivia. Appreciate you being here. If you have not yet, please subscribe and please share these out on your Facebook page. Thank you very much. Speaking of Facebook, I was talking to one of the guys over at Facebook, Craig, and he was sending me some Elvis stuff. I'm an Elvis fan, and I got to thinking, well, he'd mentioned Howard McNear had been in one of Elvis's movies, and of course I knew that, and he'd been in several actually, and I thought, what a nice idea for a video. So I looked into it yesterday to see what actors from the Andy Griffith Show have been in Elvis Presley movies. Now, I'm not just talking about the main actors, but anyone who's actually had any kind of role at all in the Andy Griffith Show, to make it interesting. So let's get started. And we'll be going by the year, each movie that someone was in. First is King Creole. That was from 1958. Jackie Joseph was in that. She played Ramona on the Andy Griffith Show. And in 1960, Flaming Star, which co-starred Barbara Eden as Rosalind Pierce. She, of course, played manicurist Ellen Brown from the Andy Griffith Show. 1961, Wild in the Country. Excuse me. Walter Baldwin played Mr. Spangler. If you'll remember, he was the original Floyd on the Andy Griffith Show. 1961, Blue Hawaii. Howard McNear played Mr. Chapman. And yes, he was the second and the actually only Floyd that I recognize. 1962, Follow That Dream. Joanna Moore played Alicia Claypool on the Andy Griffith Show. She was, of course, Nurse Peggy. Howard McNear played George, and he was Floyd on the Andy Griffith Show. Next up is 1962, Kid Galahad. Robert Earnhardt played Maynard. He was Mr. Tucker on the Andy Griffith Show. 1962, Girls, Girls, Girls. Mary Treen, who played Rose on the Andy Griffith Show. 1963, a very good year, the year I was born. Fun in Acapulco. Howard McNear played Dr. John Stevens. He, of course, again, was Floyd. And Mary Treen played Mrs. Stevens. And yes, she was Rose on the Andy Griffith Show. 64, Kissin' Cousins. Jack Albertson, who played Bradford J. Taylor on the Andy Griffith Show. 1964, Viva Las Vegas. George Cesar was the manager of the Swingers on the movie, and he played Cyrus Tankersley on the Andy Griffith Show. 1964, Roustabout. Sue Ann Langdon played Madame Majahu. She played Mary on the Andy Griffith Show. Dabbs Greer, who played Arthur Nelson. He was in like 4 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show. You know him better as Reverend on Little House on the Prairie. Again, Jack Albertson played Lou. Bradford J. Taylor on the Andy Griffith Show. 1965, Girl Happy. Jackie Coogan played Sergeant Benson, and he was, of course, George Stevens on the Andy Griffith Show. George Czar, again, with Bartender, was Cyrus on the Andy Griffith Show. Frankie and Johnny, 1966. Sue Ann Langdon played Mitzi. Of course, again, she played Mary on the Andy Griffith Show. And Joyce Jameson played Abigail, and she was the fun girl Skippy on the Andy Griffith Show. 1966, Paradise Hawaiian Style. Mary Treen played Mrs. Belden, and yes, she was Rose on the Andy Griffith Show. She did a lot. She did as many as Elvis's movies as probably more than Howard McNear. Clambake, 1967. Bill Bixby played James J. Jameson III. And on Andy Griffith Show, he was Ronald Bailey III, I believe, third. Speedway, 1968. Bill Bixby played Kenny Donford. Again, he played Ron Bailey on Andy Griffith Show. And George Cesar, who had an uncredited appearance, who played Cyrus on the Andy Griffith Show. And Burt Mustin, who played the janitor. And he, of course, is Judd on the Andy Griffith Show. Live a Little, Love a Little, 1968. Sterling Holloway played the milkman, better known as Burt Miller, on the Andy Griffith Show. The Trouble with Girls, 1969. Joyce Van Patten. She played Maud. She played Laura Hollander on the Andy Griffith Show in the episode Opie Steps Up in Class. And last but not least, Change of Habit, 1969. Robert Earnhardt plays the banker, and I remember watching this. He was a very scary man in this movie. It's kind of weird. And he played, of course, Mr. Tucker on the Andy Griffith Show. And I just thought that was quite interesting. There's so many that was in the movies with him, and there was always seemed to be a connection between Elvis and Andy. And they even toured together in the younger days. And there's a Confederate Railroad, I believe, put a song out of Elvis and Andy. Give it a listen if you ever get a chance. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Ask you to please say a few prayers for me and my family, as Monday we'll be leaving early in the morning to go to Washington, D.C. for a couple days. But I will be putting videos out on those days, on Monday and Tuesday. So check them out. And I hope you have a great weekend. God bless. Don't forget the trivia question on the Facebook page. I'll be praying for you.